Behind us stands the Lost Screen Memorial. Not statistics, not avatars, not data points. Children. Each name belonged to a child who was loved beyond measure. A child whose laughter once filled a kitchen, whose shoes once waited by a front door, whose future once felt limitless. And now their faces ask the world questions we can no longer avoid. How many more millions of children will be harmed by products that, while innovative, are still designed without sufficient safeguards? And when will children be able to enjoy the extraordinary potential of technology without it compromising their well-being? Children are no longer just participants in digital spaces. They are too often the product. Because when they tick the box and they sign the terms and conditions, they don't realize that they may actually be signing away their life. Because the small print didn't spell out that it was going to prey upon their vulnerabilities and drive them to content they weren't looking for to keep them engaged for as long as possible. Because children today are being shaped by systems designed to capture attention at absolutely any cost. Relentless algorithms, exploitative engagement, and endless exposure to harmful content that they are not seeking out. When a kind, warm, handsome teenage boy is overcome by a breakup with his girlfriend and goes onto social media looking for quotes of affirmation to help him get through it, the platforms preyed upon his pain. And instead of just offering him the words of encouragement he was searching for, they offered him ideas of how he should take his life.
The cameras were rolling. The stage was set. And Meghan Markle had arrived in Geneva expecting to lead a global conversation about protecting children online. But within hours, almost nobody was talking about the cause. Instead, the internet locked onto something else entirely. A crowd that critics claimed barely existed. An Instagram post that sparked accusations of hypocrisy. And one tiny gesture at the end of her speech that exploded across social media like wildfire. What happened in Geneva wasn't just another awkward celebrity moment. For many people watching, it felt like proof that Meghan Markle is now trapped inside a cycle she can no longer control. Because every time she tries to focus attention on a serious issue, the spotlight somehow swings back to her. And this time, the backlash moved fast. Really fast. So what actually happened in Geneva? And why did an event about children's online safety suddenly turn into a week of nonstop controversy? Let's break it down. Because once you connect all the pieces together, the entire situation starts looking a lot worse than anyone expected. The event itself sounded serious on paper. Meghan appeared in Geneva for discussions connected to the World Health Organization about children's digital safety, a topic governments around the world are increasingly worried about. She stood near Geneva's famous Broken Chair Monument alongside WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus and delivered a speech focused on dangerous algorithms, addictive social media platforms, online harm, and the responsibility tech companies have toward children. The message was clear. Children are being exposed to digital environments that were never designed with their safety in mind. Meghan argued that governments and tech companies need stronger regulations. She compared unsafe digital platforms to physical products that would never be allowed onto the market without testing. And honestly, the issue itself is real. Parents everywhere are worried about screen addiction, cyberbullying, harmful content, and the impact social media is having on kids. This should have been a strong moment for Meghan. An international stage. A humanitarian issue. A respected organization. Exactly the kind of image she and Prince Harry have been trying to build since leaving royal life behind. The goal seemed obvious. Move beyond celebrity drama. Move beyond royal headlines. Position herself as a serious global advocate. Everything about Geneva looked designed to support that image. But then the footage started spreading online. And almost immediately, the conversation went sideways. The first thing people noticed wasn't the speech. It was the crowd. Or more specifically, what critics claimed was the lack of one. Videos from the event began circulating across social media, and users quickly zoomed in on the background. People were walking past the speech without stopping. Tourists wandered through the area. Cars kept moving. Some pedestrians barely looked over. Within minutes, screenshots were everywhere. Critics started mocking the turnout. Others claimed even Meghan's own supporters hadn't bothered showing up. And suddenly, the internet wasn't debating children's online safety anymore. It was debating whether Meghan Markle could still attract public attention without the royal institution behind her. That's when the comparison started. Just days earlier, Catherine, Princess of Wales, had appeared at public engagements in Italy where huge crowds gathered to see her. Social media immediately placed the two events side by side. On one screen, packed streets, cheering crowds, massive public excitement. On the other, clips from Geneva showing people casually walking past Meghan's speech. Now, to be fair, these were completely different events. A royal walkabout and a policy discussion aren't remotely the same thing. But fairness doesn't matter much once social media gets involved. What mattered was the visual contrast. And visually, it looked brutal. Critics argued the comparison exposed something uncomfortable. That much of the attention Meghan and Harry received during their royal years may have belonged more to the monarchy itself than to them personally. Whether that's true or not is still debated. But once that narrative caught fire online, it completely overshadowed the message she came to deliver. And then came the second controversy. This one hit even harder. Before arriving in Geneva, Meghan posted a photo on Instagram. At first glance, it looked harmless. A casual behind-the-scenes family moment. Her daughter, Princess Lilibet, appeared near her feet while Meghan prepared for the event. The caption framed it as a sweet "mama's little helper" moment. But people quickly noticed something else in the image. Her outfit for the Geneva appearance had been carefully positioned in the frame. The blazer. The shoes. The styling. Critics immediately argued the post didn't feel spontaneous at all. They claimed it looked staged, a polished lifestyle brand image using her daughter to increase engagement before a major international appearance. And here's where the situation became incredibly complicated. Just hours later, Meghan stood on stage delivering a speech about protecting children from harmful online exposure. That contradiction became the story. Because critics pointed out something obvious. If children deserve privacy online, why post your own child to millions of followers right before giving a speech about that exact issue? That question spread everywhere. And unlike some royal criticism, this wasn't only coming from longtime Meghan critics. Even people who agreed with her arguments about online child safety started questioning the logic. Because the criticism used Meghan's own words against her. A 4-year-old cannot meaningfully consent to global social media exposure. That's an argument Harry and Meghan themselves have made repeatedly over the years. Now critics were applying the same principle back to them. And that made the backlash much harder to dismiss. The irony practically wrote itself. A speech about protecting children online had suddenly become overshadowed by an Instagram debate involving Meghan's own child. At that point, the Geneva trip was already spinning off course. But then came the third moment. And somehow, it made everything worse. At the very end of her speech, cameras captured Meghan briefly touching her nose. That's it. A tiny movement. A completely normal human reflex. But this is Meghan Markle in 2026. Nothing stays small online anymore. Within hours, the clip was everywhere. People slowed it down. Zoomed in. Replayed it frame by frame. Some claimed she looked emotional. Others said nervous. Others invented entirely different theories. The truth? It probably meant absolutely nothing. People touch their faces constantly without thinking. But context matters. And by this point, the crowd controversy was already exploding. The Instagram backlash was still growing. The royal comparisons were dominating social media. So the nose-touch clip became another distraction. Another viral moment. Another conversation pulling attention away from the actual issue she came to discuss. And that became the real story of Geneva. Every time focus almost returned to children's online safety, something else dragged the spotlight back onto Meghan herself. The crowd. The Instagram post. The comparisons. The gesture. Each controversy alone might have been manageable. Together, they created total chaos. By the end of the week, one uncomfortable reality was impossible to ignore. The issue Meghan wanted people talking about barely survived the news cycle. Instead, the internet spent days talking about Meghan Markle. And that may be the biggest challenge she faces now. Because this isn't really about one speech anymore. It's about something much larger. Meghan is currently trying to operate in multiple public roles at the same time, and they increasingly clash with each other. There's Meghan, the humanitarian advocate. The international speaker discussing global policy issues. The woman standing beside world leaders and organizations like the WHO. That role requires credibility, consistency, and public trust. Then there's Meghan, the lifestyle brand. The Instagram posts. The curated family images. The polished celebrity branding. The commercial visibility. That role depends on attention, engagement, and carefully managed public exposure. And finally, there's Meghan, the permanent controversy figure. The Oprah interview. The Netflix series. The royal fallout. The endless media battles. Whether fair or unfair, that history follows her into every room she enters. And the problem is, those three identities keep colliding. The humanitarian message gets undermined by celebrity branding. The branding gets questioned because of the activism. And both get filtered through years of controversy. Geneva exposed that conflict in real time. The event was supposed to show Meghan operating cleanly in the humanitarian space. Instead, all the other narratives showed up too. And once they did, they completely took over the conversation. Now, none of this means the issue she discussed isn't important. Children's digital safety absolutely matters. Governments worldwide are debating age restrictions, algorithm regulation, and online protections for minors right now. Those conversations are real. But Geneva showed how difficult it has become for Meghan to separate the cause from the controversy surrounding her personally. And maybe that's the biggest takeaway from the entire week. Not that the event itself was catastrophic. Not that Meghan can never recover publicly. But that every appearance now carries layers of baggage that are becoming harder and harder to escape. Because once public trust starts breaking into fragments, every contradiction gets magnified. Every image gets analyzed. Every gesture gets dissected. Every decision becomes part of a much bigger narrative. And right now, Meghan Markle seems stuck inside that cycle. The question is whether she can eventually break out of it. Or whether Geneva proved the pattern has already become too deeply established. What do you think? Can Meghan still rebuild her image as a serious humanitarian voice? Or has the controversy now become impossible to separate from the message itself? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to subscribe for more royal news and analysis. Because this story is definitely not over yet.